Okay, here we are for the City of Gig Harbor Design Review Board meeting, virtual style on February 25th, 2021. Let's start with roll call. I'll begin. Brett Marlowe DeSantis.
Karen Filan.
Linda Pitcher.
Nels Peterson. Nels Peterson.
Just for clarity of the record, I'll go ahead since there was some overlap there. We also have Linda Pitcher and Marlene Drucker. This is Kim Mahoney, the staff.
Cindy Andrews, staff.
Thank you. Tonight's meeting, we have one applicant, Gray Road Holdings, LLC. Before we start, this is an open public meeting. No public comment will be allowed at this meeting due to it being virtual. Cindy, is there anyone who submitted any public comment?
Yes.
Yeah, does that need to be read in now before we do appearance of fairness?
No, Chair, I can read that in during my intro to the project.
Excellent. Thanks. Thank you, Kim. Okay, so does anyone on the board have any reason to not be part of this project?
No.
Does anyone on the project have any issue with anyone on the board? Okay, I think we're good to go. Let's go ahead and go straight to it. I didn't see any minutes. There are no minutes, right, Cindy?
Minutes this time. We'll have them all next time.
Thank you. Okay, Kim, you're up.
Thanks, Chair. Before we get started, I wanted to just take a look here. I can see that there's 4 attendees, and before we get too deep into everything, I just want to make sure, Jeannie, if you were expecting for Wade Perot or anybody else from the applicant team to be in attendance, if there's anybody from the applicant team that's listed as an attendee that should be promoted to a panelist, I want to make sure that that's taken care of before we get too deep into things.
No, they have a fish board meeting tonight, so the fish couldn't come.
Okay, got it. All right, then I will dive right in. As always, please ensure that you keep your mic muted unless you are speaking in the record for clarity of the record. Good evening, everybody. We're here today for the DRB's consideration of 2 items for alternative design review associated with the fish food bank proposed off of Burnham Drive, approximately 250 feet southeast of the intersection with Harborview Drive. The applicant proposes the development of an approximately 10,000 square foot food and clothing distribution warehouse and administrative office building with associated utility, parking, and landscape improvements. The subject site is a 1.94 acre parcel in the B2 General Business District in Gig Harbor. The site has slopes as steep as 30%. It's also vegetated with significant trees, and it's transected on the northwest side by a type 4 intermittent stream. These sensitive areas are not impacted by tonight's requests by the applicant. The proposed development has been presented a number of times previously before the DRB. Its history with the DRB includes a pre-application conference, a holistic alternative design request, and a design exception request. This history is further detailed in section 6 of my staff report. Since its last presentation before the DRB, the project's grading design has changed in a manner which is inconsistent with previous DRB recommendations, and the site's primary walkway design was not amended to convey strict conformance with the provisions set forth in Gig Harbor Municipal Code 1799-260, as had been conditioned in the DRB's September 10th, 2020 recommendation. With regard to the site's grading, the applicant is requesting that the DRB approve its alternative design solution to maintaining a balanced site. Staff regards a balanced site, a balanced grading plan as one which does not exceed a 10% difference in the cut and fill quantities. The applicant had previously proposed an alternative to this design manual standard. At its August 24th, 2020 meeting, the DRB issued a recommendation for approval of a grading plan representing 4,500 cubic yards of fill and 3,500 cubic yards of cut, a 12.8% difference in cut and fill. The request before the DRB tonight is a result of changes to the grading plan, which reduced the grading activity, but increased the percent difference between the cut and fill quantities. This element of the applicant's request is further discussed on pages 5 through 6 of my staff report. Despite the increase in percent difference proposed in the applicant's grading plan today, the DRB may wish to consider the site's overall decrease in grading since its last design and may also wish to consider the applicant's retention of existing slopes around the building pad and absence of retaining walls in excess of 6 feet in its consideration of the applicant's alternative design request and the overall consistency with the criteria set forth in Gig Harbor Municipal Code 17.98.055A. With regard to the applicant's proposed alternative design to the requirement to landscape one side of primary walkways from the right-of-way to the building entrance with a 5-foot strip, it should be noted for clarity that while the applicant's narrative states that the DRB needs to determine whether this provision applies and would require the applicant to provide a 5-foot landscaping area along the walkway, this is not true and is not the subject of tonight's request. It is staff's responsibility to interpret the applicability of the Gig Harbor Municipal Code. This provision applies, as does the applicant's strict adherence with the provision, lest the DRB recommend approval of an alternative design. The applicant's alternative design to this standard is further discussed in Exhibits A and C and in Section 7 of my staff report. Staff will withhold its opinion on the applicant's alternative design to this standard until the DRB and the applicant have an opportunity to further discuss the design proposed. Separate of these items, staff is requesting discussion with the DRB on the sufficiency of the applicant's proposed landscaping in meeting the DRB's condition to its recommendation dated August 24th, 2020. The recommendation I will read as follows. The DRB recommends that the applicant prepare a design exception application. Oh, excuse me, I'm reading the wrong one. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm going to go back on the record and continue to read. It was correct. The DRB recommends that the applicant prepare a design exception application consistent with Gig Harbor Municipal Code 17.98.060D to address its proposed design as it relates to relief from primary walkways. The DRB otherwise recommends that the Community Development Director accept the design approach as consistent with the alternative design criteria codified in Gig Harbor Municipal Code 17.98.055A, subject to the following special condition. The applicant shall provide a landscape plan for review by staff and/or the DRB depicting a well-planted buffer along the undecorated portions of the proposed structure, particularly those facades adjacent to the site's zone transition buffer. It is staff's hope to provide clear assurance or direction to the applicant tonight in its efforts to depict a sufficiently well-planted buffer in this area. To that end, staff has received one public comment in response to the notice of public meeting for tonight's proposal, which I will now read into the record. The comment was submitted by Mr. Wade Perot, stated February 16th, 2020 to the Gig Harbor Design Review Board / Kimberly Mahoney City Planner from Donkey Creek Holdings, LLC. Subject, support of the proposed Gig Harbor Peninsula Fish Food Bank Residential Transition Buffer Design. Dear DRB members, as an adjoining R1 residential zoned property owner directly behind the proposed building, we fully support the proposed alternative landscape design dated February 10th, 2021 that is to be reviewed by the DRB on February 25th, 2021. The Gig Harbor Peninsula Fish Food Bank's design team, led by RGA and Bradley Design Group, has shared the proposed design with Donkey Creek Holdings, LLC, owners of the adjoining residential zone property, and we wish to thank the Gig Harbor Peninsula Fish Food Bank design team for creating a landscape design that is far superior in addressing landscape screening opportunities between the properties. The alternative landscape design proposed has done a far superior job in addressing comments made in the attached August 7th, 2020 letter that was provided to the DRB when this project was first reviewed. As the adjoining property owner, we are very pleased to see the proposed design is showing the removal of the non-screening madrone trees and replacing them with evergreen trees to provide much better screening. As the adjoining property owner most affected by this project, we support action by the DRB on February 25th to recommend acceptance of alternative landscape plan dated February 10th, 2021, with more evergreen trees planted instead of retaining the madrone trees that provide little or no screening. Respectfully submitted, Donkey Creek Holdings, LLC, Wade Perot, managing member. After receiving this comment, I reached out to Mr. Perot to clarify that the DRB is not involved in decisions on alternative landscape plans, and I invited him to provide additional clarity as it relates to the board's purview. Mr. Perot clarified that his comments were directly related to the DRB's consideration of the landscaping condition included in the board's August 24th recommendation. This concludes my introduction of this project. I am happy to address any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Kim. Are there any questions from any board members of Kim? Okay, Jeannie, are you ready to present?
Yes, we are. So Nick's gonna share the screen. Is that possible?
Should have a share screen button at the bottom of his screen that he needs to push, and that he should be able to share his screen.
Okay. Okay. I'm just gonna reduce those. Like that. Okay, we're all set. Okay, so I wanted to thank you for seeing us again. We're getting down to the nitty gritty here. Again, this is the Gig Harbor Peninsula Fish Group. It has their board meeting tonight, so they are unable to come again. Thursday nights is their board meeting night. Although they are very interested in the outcome and excited about this project and seeing it move forward as soon as possible. So let's go to the next slide. To review the past efforts with you, as Kim mentioned, we saw you in August of 2020, where you gave us a recommendation of approval for an overall holistic superior alternative design solution. And then in September, we came back to you for a design exception for the primary walkway standards because so that we wouldn't have to do the primary walkway in the easement area that connects this property to Burnham Drive. So, so you gave us that exception. And then in October 19, 2020, we did apply for the major site plan review and alternative landscape plan. As a result of those reviews, these final 3 items have come up that need to be resolved before Kim can finish her review. So just a reminder, this is a 10,250 square foot warehouse and community services building. The functions will include donations, drop off, unloading, food and clothing distribution, and some administrative office space. And it's located right next door to the existing Eagles building. All right, these are our topics for discussion tonight. The natural site conditions, maintaining natural topography. We'll be showing you the alternative landscape plan to meet your conditions of approval from previous meetings. And then some slides to talk about the accenting of the walkways with significant landscaping along the primary walkway. All right, if you remember, this is the same slide we showed you back in August. It has blue is the areas of fill, red is the areas of cut. The way this building sits in the landscape has not changed. What has changed is in the process of doing the site plan submittal, the calculations for cut and fill done by the civil engineer have been adjusted based on the size of the stormwater. So the previous approval had 4,500 cubic yards of cut and about 3,500 cubic yards of fill. The current solution is it's less, overall total cut of 2,000 cubic yards. So it's a 225% reduction of cut and then a 17% reduction of the amount of fill. We believe that the total volume to be moved on site is substantially less than was originally proposed and approved by you and is more consistent with the design manual's intent. Go ahead. Okay, so here you can, I'll just kind of recap. What we didn't have for you before was the alternative landscape plan had not been developed. Now it is. It's going to be a beautiful design. Along the east line is a 20-foot landscape buffer. It's going to be just 32 feet wide. Let's see. And then the yellow area is a sanitary sewer easement mandated by the city of Gig Harbor comp plan. It has no benefit to fish, but it does interrupt where trees can be planted. The city's own public works codes don't allow trees to be planted within a sewer or utility easement. The proposed plan will replace some existing madronas, as mentioned in the letter by the neighbor. So those madronas will be removed and replaced with some evergreen trees, and then there'll be some more evergreen trees added too. And then along that east side and the north side, the building is in large part below grade, and the plantings are proposed in an offset pattern to disguise the east side of the building when seen from the residential properties above. And we believe this is a superior solution than what would otherwise be required in a standard 20-foot residential buffer. Go ahead. This kind of is a recap to give you some orientation. There is a zone transition requirement between the B2 and the residential parcel to the right. We are able to meet this prescriptively with because there's no structures within 200 feet of the subject property. So, you know, when we went into this, we were assuming we had a 40-foot dense vegetative buffer requirement. In fact, we don't. We just have the 20 feet. And so now we're providing 32. So go ahead to the next slide. All right, so the primary walkway standards, this has come up because of your approval of the design exception. And part of that was that we would have a strict compliance with the primary walkway standards. We do have that, with the exception of item D, which is to accent walkways with significant landscaping, where one side of all primary walkways must be landscaped except where they cross driveways, and the width of that landscaping has to be 5 feet. In the previous approval, a 5-foot wide landscaping strip goes up to the common area plaza. The plaza is the exterior portion of the building's entry. The site plan and perspectives that were approved at the DRB meeting provided no landscape strips or green areas shown at the common area plaza / entry. So what we haven't changed the building in any way, or we haven't changed our primary walkway locations. City staff has suggested that the 5-foot wide landscape strip along the primary walkway must extend up to the front door, not just to the entry plaza. You know, the common area plaza is our entry sequence. And then in the notice of recommendation by the City of Gig Harbor Board, by you guys, this is some quotes from that. In the bold down below, the proposed design alternative includes an enhanced landscape plan proposed by the applicant and a primary walkway design within the subject's parcel's boundary, which strictly conforms with GHMC 1799. So in my mind, the 5-foot walkway was the strict conformance, and then the alternative landscape plan being provided as part of what was going to be coming was going to address the full sequence of the landscaping requirement next to that primary walkway. Go ahead to the next one. All right, so to remind you here's the primary walkway standards. On the left is the site plan we showed you for the August 2020 DRB site plan. In green are the areas that were shown to be landscaped. So in my mind, it was shown here that we were not having a 5-foot landscape plan all the way up to the front door. We were just having it up to where we had our common area plaza. On the right-hand side is the proposed alternative landscape plan. Here you can see where you enter the site and the blue line goes over here. We did extend the 5-foot strip a little bit there at the south portion of the building, right there. And then now we are proposing 4 trees and planters, and then 4 smaller planters next to the bench. Okay, go ahead. So in our current proposal, where the primary walkway merges with the common area plaza at the entry, city staff is suggesting the DRB should determine if strict compliance with this standard would require a 5-foot wide strip of landscaping between the parking lot and the front door portion of the entry. If this were so, it would be a departure from what was reviewed and approved by you in August. It would obstruct the view of the front door as you approach the building. It would be an impediment to pedestrian foot traffic through the, as you flow through the site. As you know, planting strips located near the building entries or near public gathering areas tend to get stepped on, roots exposed, plants die, people walk across them. If a 5-foot wide landscaping strip were to be placed between the parking lot and the common area plaza, it would not create an inviting entry and plants would get trampled. The proposed alternative plan shows 4 5-foot by 5-foot raised movable planters with trees around the entry, plus 4 additional planters. A design, like I mentioned, a design adjustment was made to extend the amount of landscaping that is 5 feet wide next to the primary walkway as far as we could up to the plaza. So we asked the DRB to find this proposal to be a superior design solution as we ask for the DRB's final recommendation of approval. Go ahead. So here we have a few slides here for you to remember. On the left are all the pictures from August that you saw. And then on the right are all the pictures with kind of artist rendering of what that enhanced alternative landscape plan looks like. So you could take a minute here and look at these images from left to right. Go ahead. And there's the planters at the entry. So, I mean, the images that we showed you, I guess that's my point in showing you these, especially this last one, is that there was no landscaping shown. And we had talked about having this enhanced landscape plan, that was going to come because we hadn't done it yet. And so now you can see what our solution is. Go ahead. And here is in summary of the holistic superior design items that we would like to clarify, that the intent of your recommendation of approval has been met as shown for natural site conditions, that the enhanced alternative landscape plan meets the well-planted conditions of your approval, and that the primary walkway standards meet the intent of the original approval for the design exception. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll open it up to discussion. Anyone?
Well, I think it makes sense to have the planters instead of the landscaping up to the door, especially when you're having people move, potentially large objects and carts in and out. So I think that's an improvement.
Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome.
Jeannie, this is Darren. Can you put up the site plan again, the colored landscape site plan?
From that you had originally seen.
Yeah,
We didn't color the current landscape plan.
I think just the one that kind of gives us a top-down view of your alternative landscape plan.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Brett, I'm going to comment on a couple things. First, in regards to the cut and fill and the topography, I think the proposal is good. I think the fact that, they shouldn't be penalized in one sense because they have less sort of storm infrastructure, that they need to put in, which is a good thing. And so it throws the percentages a little bit out of whack. So that's my opinion on that. So in regards to the landscaping up at the front door, I think in one sense, the alternate landscaping plan is really a good approach to coming up with solutions that really just can't fit in that prescriptive mode. And here you have a heavy pedestrian and vehicular entry to the building's front door on the same side. So they kind of share that same common pathway. And in my opinion, I think it's really doing a good job once you get on site. I don't think, my gut says that the raised planters, as we get up towards sort of the front entry of the building, I don't know, if someone was, say, coming up and wanting to drop somebody off, planters would be in one sense an encumbrance, to getting out of the car. I think, maybe one at the corner or one, maybe the two in the middle go away. It seems really jammed. And I guess where I'm going with it is it seems like trying to really, almost prescriptively sort of like hang on to the intent of this 5-foot strip. It's like, I think you've met it, Jeannie, in my opinion. I think you've gotten it on there, especially with, what would be the landscape dog bones that we'd call, in the parking field that are, really nicely landscaped as you get across. Once you get to that, sort of that entry plaza that's to the building, I think you don't have a lot of room there. And I don't think it necessarily needs to be, grass or landscaping right up to the front door, in my opinion. I think you've gotten it. And so I think it could lighten up a little bit there just to make it more functional. That's what I got, Brett.
Thank you, Darren.
Mhm.
Nels or Marlene, would you like to chime in?
Yeah, Jeannie, can you show kind of the 3D rendering of the front of the building one more time?
Yeah. You know what, something, we were just remembering, Michelle, the landscape architect, was supposed to be here. Did she not come into the Zoom?
I saw Michelle not on the panelist list, but on the other list.
Yeah, Cindy, I wasn't.
On
sure
the
if
attendees list, if you'd like me to make her a participant. I did not know if it just says
Okay.
Michelle, so.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead and let Michelle in if she.
Yeah, I think my comment, I agree with Darren. The one here on the corner, if you look at the lower right-hand corner picture, I think out on that corner is okay. But boy, once you put those two in the middle, they really, really pinch down that front door, both visually and practically. So yeah, the rest of your landscaping is beautiful. So I think maybe those last three or the two in the middle at least go away. And you just kind of open that little entry plaza back up and don't put those blockades in the way. So that's all I have, Brett.
Thank you, Nels. Marlene?
Yeah, I don't have much to comment here. I think the landscaping that's been done is fine. The planters, maybe they do feel a little bit, now that it's been commented upon, I guess I could see they do feel a little added, kind of maybe added on and not necessarily enhancing what the building is doing. But I think the green around it is fine. And again, I think the discussion, to follow just a rule of like, oh, the number of cut and fill, it doesn't, I mean, what you're doing makes sense with what the site is and what the building is, and I don't have a problem with it. So if I had, I don't know if we're ready for motions yet.
I'm open to it.
I don't have one written in front of me. But I guess I would move that what's being proposed here is acceptable, is equivalent or superior.
Thank you, Marlene. So there is a motion on the table by Marlene that the project includes both elements presented and meets or is superior to what is required. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Darren. Is there more discussion or are we ready to vote?
Well, again, the only discussion maybe that in my point was I would let the applicant have the option of whether or not they want to retain, the planters up in kind of front of the front door. I mean, if they like to and they want to, that's fine. It'll be up to them. I think that in my opinion, they're not required. I think you've really kind of done the job already. And I think it's as modest as that area is. It probably needs just some more elbow room, especially with cars coming in or dropping people off.
Okay. The only comment I would add in, Jeannie, is, odds are always, they always look better than even. So if you're going to lose one, it sure wouldn't hurt anybody, and I think maybe at least in this rendering down on the bottom corner, it could be the scale of the plant material in there as well, the height of it. I don't know. I would say what Darren says and leave yourself open to, work with that area and see what works best. Darren, do you need a friendly amendment to Marlene's for that before we vote?
I guess in order to do it, looking at what's on the screen right now, and looking at the image that's in the bottom left-hand corner, sort of devoid of any landscaping, right? I think where the two individuals are, the pink shirt and the gray shirt gentleman there in the rendering, that area seems like, yeah, that'd be a good candidate for some landscaping, because there's a little niche in there and it could kind of soften that edge a bit, and possibly something up here where the trash receptacle is, they're showing the planter there. But I don't think that it needs to have anything more than that if they choose not to have that. So that would be my friendly amendment, that I do like the gesture, and maybe have some landscaping up in that re-entrant corner past the entrance, and then maybe something, at that sort of outside corner of the building as you're approaching it. But I don't think there'd be any requirement for landscaping between those 2 points.
So are you requesting that they address both corners, or are you leaving it open for them to interpret?
Well, they have a planter that's there at, their current design
Could you go
shows
to
a planter, kind of at either end.
show them
but,
where the planters are? We have planters.
Yeah, the raised planter. Yeah, you're showing some planters that are down in that corner. So
Can you zoom in or not? Yeah, we have some planters in
yeah.
those two locations.
Yeah. Mhm. So I would say that I would just say what seems to make sense possibly is maybe just the option of the two raised planters that show trees in the middle there, that they would be at the applicant's discretion or choice.
Jeannie,
So-
is that clear enough for you?
So you're saying, am I hearing keep 2 trees, keep the planters, and maybe or maybe not do the 2 middle trees?
Yeah, again, I think the planters themselves, they're right up close to the curb's edge, so they always make a little bit of a challenge there with the vehicles backing in, out, or if something, a bumper or back end extends over curb, those planters could be subject, especially where they are, getting kind of bumped. So I don't know if they're necessarily a good design solution here, although they do add landscaping. I think the planter, if we were looking at the most northerly planter of those 4, maybe that one could push backwards towards the the benches and whatnot, get it away from the curb. And then honestly, I don't even know if you need any others. It just seems like you've got this beautiful landscape that triangular area that's south of the corner of the building there. It's all new. Seems like that really does the job.
Is
Are you
Shelley
back?
even in our, is she here?
Yeah,
Okay, thanks.
I agree.
So she's hearing all this? I can't see.
Okay, so I heard Nels, you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think one could go back into that re-entrant corner a little bit, and then the rest really, it can go away. I think just let that frontage be open and visible as you're coming up the road into the facility.
Yeah, I agree with you.
He
Does that make-
disagreed with
does
you,
that-
Darren.
Jeannie, does that make our description there, does that make sense, what we're talking about?
Yeah, I wish Michelle was still with us. I know I have suggested that to her and she said she really needed the trees for her tree count. So I know that's part of the decision for having those trees there.
You need
Kim,
more,
can you
you need more
repeat that?
trees, seriously? I'm looking at the plan thinking, God, it looks pretty full already.
Yeah, I don't know if is that something the DRB can tell her, is that she doesn't need to meet that tree count, or
Well,
I'm
I
not
think-
sure.
I
Kim,
think
can you speak to this?
I would ask Kim, but I think you, once you go into the alternative landscape plan, I think you've got a different set of rules.
Chair, I can speak to that.
Thank you, Kim.
Yeah, Darren is absolutely correct. The criteria that's necessary for an alternative landscape plan is separate from that which can be considered by the design review board and alternative design review.
So
And,
does that mean we can take away 2 trees? And
So let's have Michelle. So I just see that Michelle joined back as an attendee. So Cindy, if you can hear me, please promote Michelle to a panelist.
Here she is.
And then and she might be more familiar, but I can speak generally is that yes, if there's an element of your proposal that means that you're not prescriptively meeting the requirements of Gig Harbor Municipal Code 1778, then what is most often done as a relief mechanism in an alternative landscape plan is to propose a landscaping plan that is superior to strict conformance with the landscaping code. And so usually what we see in that is, an increased number of plantings and trees than what we would otherwise be required from the landscaping code prescriptively.
but is there a certain formula for that, or is it somewhat?
Absolutely, there is. Yeah, it's very formulaic, and so Michelle, are you here?
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'm trying to get back in. I missed a lot, so I'm not sure what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, sure. So the discussion, sorry, Chair, can I speak directly with
Yes,
the landscape
please.
workers? Okay. Yeah, Michelle, what we're talking about are the 4 trees that are located, the 4 strawberry trees that are located in front of the building. And
Okay.
what was discussed a lot in tonight's meeting was kind of the, maybe that there isn't a need for the 2 middle trees. The concern that was introduced by Jeannie is that those 2 middle trees are necessary as an element of the alternative landscape plan, that you need this specific number of trees to be included in the plan for your ALP to be approvable by staff.
Correct, but if staff, if the DRB decides that that is not an appropriate location for those trees that I'm using for that purpose, I can relocate them somewhere else. But yes, I do need 4 trees.
Okay.
Okay, is there any more discussion? Okay, then I'm going to bring back the motion to vote on this holistically with both elements of the landscape and the walkways, that they meet or exceed our requirements. Do we have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you, Chair. Before we close tonight's meeting, can we please open up to discussion on the east parcel lines landscaping? This is a great slide for us to stop on right now, but this area specifically was a conditioned element of the DRB's August 24th, 2020 recommendation that be well planted as verified by either staff or the DRB. And so while we have the board present tonight, it's my hope that we can provide, like I said, either a very, very clear amount of assurance or very clear direction to the applicant if there's anything that needs to be changed to this area in the board's opinion to meet the definition of well planted.
Okay, do you not feel like the motion that passed dealt with that?
No, Chair, I don't, because the landscaping that we talked about previously was relative to the primary walkway standards, but the area that I'm speaking about is actually on the backside of the building as it abuts up to the R1 zone right there. That was the topic of the condition that was included in the August recommendation and in the letter that was presented as part of the public record this evening. And so just that area back there, that was the subject of the first DRB recommendations condition. I just want to be, clear, even on my own behalf, and for the benefit of the applicant's continued design and success through the permitting process, that what's back there is okay by the perspective of everybody involved.
Okay, great. Can you zoom into the area that you're speaking of?
Is this Nick who's operating this right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick, can you know where the area is right there, right? Yeah, right back there.
That's as far as we can zoom.
Okay, that's cool. Board members, do we have any discussion on this matter?
So just as a point, so there's existing madronas that are in there now that you're removing.
Yeah, we're taking them out. I don't know if you can highlight them, Nick, those three little, no, yeah, right there.
Okay. And the reason they're coming out is what? Proximity to building, grading?
Yeah, all the above. And also the adjoining property owner was saying that they preferred to remove them and put in some evergreen trees to block the building a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then the replacement, the number of evergreens you're replacing.
Is Michelle still with us?
Yes.
Yeah.
The, when you see replacement trees, that's not specifically just for those madronas. It is inclusive of the entire alternative landscape plan for all the perimeter trees that require replacement. So you aren't seeing, in this plan, you are not seeing the madronas that are being removed. You're seeing what will happen afterwards.
Okay.
And the blue area is a little hard to tell, but that's the R1 zone is the blue area. The rest of it around this property is B1, and then down to the Goodman track down in the lower right corner.
How much of your building, Jeannie, sits above the grade at the back of the building?
I knew I should have had that image. Let's see, I think it's a 22-foot high building, and we're cutting back there about 10 feet. So only about 12 feet at the back corner is exposed.
Okay. So in one sense, I'd say architecturally, your building in scale, what can be seen is probably no larger than, the vertical height of a shed. So I think the landscaping plan is fantastic, so I don't have any issue with it whatsoever.
Thank you,
Plus,
Darren.
you saw that one where there are no existing structures nearby.
Right.
So
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Do I have any other board members in support of this alternative landscaping plan in the corner?
I'll support it.
Thank you, Marlene.
Oh, yeah, I support it too.
Thank you, Linda. Nels, you still there?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I have no problem with this.
Okay,
Wonderful.
well,
Thank you, Chair. We don't need any sort of
so we're good
formal,
to go. Yeah, you're okay, Kim?
right, yeah, we don't need any formal motion or anything. I just appreciate the guidance of the board on that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Kim, can I have one question? Is this area at the south that's kind of triangle shaped? I just, I want to make sure that was included in the approval. Right there where we extended we extended the landscaping next to the primary walkway as much as we could.
Mhm.
Right there, but it's not rectangular.
It looks great. You're good.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, Chair, if I can.
I don't know.
Applicant.
Yeah, please, Kim.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I also think that with so much of the discussion tonight, Chair, if you're amenable to it, I understand that the motion was pretty direct regarding the applicant's proposal to be meeting the criteria, but with so much of the discussion, I wonder if the board would be open to the findings section of tonight's recommendation, giving a little bit of discussion to the two trees being seen as acceptable in the eyes of the board to be relocated somewhere somewhere else on the site.
Yeah, I'm getting the feeling that no one would be opposed to that. Is there any board member opposed to the relocation of those trees?
Oh,
I think you're good to go.
Thanks, Chair. I'll put that in the findings. That way it's just able to be referenced somewhere in case the applicant chooses to make use of that element of the conversation tonight.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, then I think the applicant's ready. You may be released. You're all good to go.
All right, thank you. Thank you again for,
good luck.
Thanks, Jean.
okay.
Cindy, is there anything else to discuss tonight?
Reminder that our March 11th meeting, DRB meeting was canceled, but we do have, the next one would be March 25th. And that is Pioneer Mixed Use Development and Ed Vote Certificate of Appropriateness that's coming back.
Thank you, Cindy.
We will all be seeing Ed and Vote again next month.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Any board members have anything that you want to discuss in the meeting? If not, motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Sorry, I do want to raise my hand. I do want to discuss something.
Go for it,
I think we were authorized this year to have a work plan that involves reviewing our design review manual. Am I right about that?
I don't know if you are. Kim, anyone?
Kim.
No.
I know we talked about it.
Is it a Katrina question?
It is either that or our long range planner. They just talked to us about some of the items that were prioritized and I just don't remember where the design manual revisions fell. I apologize.
Okay, I guess I just want to, as our business, just to follow up on that. And if it is in our work plan for this year, kind of work out when, how that's going to manifest itself.
Okay,
Marlene,
great.
you might be best reaching out to Katrina via email.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, I did hear a motion to adjourn by Darren. Second.
Second.
Right on. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, you guys. Thanks for your service. Have a good night.
See you
Night,
next-
everybody.
Thanks.
Take care. Good to see you.